Come forth. I dreamed of my father when he was old. We went to see some horses in a field. They were sorrels, as red almost as blood, the light gold on their shoulders and haunches. Though they came to us all a-tremble with curiosity and snorty with caution, they had never known bridle or harness. My father walked among them admiring, for he was a knower of horses, and these were fine. He leaned on a cane and dragged his feet along the ground in hurried little steps, so that I called to him to take care, as the horses stamped and frolicked around him. But while I warned, he seized the mane of the nearest one. It'll be all right, he said. And then from his broken stance, he leapt astride and sat lithe and straight and strong in the sun's unshadowed excellence. Taking a comfortable seat, feet flat, just feeling them on the floor, your knees at a right angle. Your two hands facing upward in that pose of receptivity. And then straightening the back. And lengthening the neck just a millimeter, just enough so that you notice. Letting the shoulders fall. Just hanging on that beam. Letting the muscles in your face relax. In the neck. In the chest. Feeling that tension just dissolve away for a minute. And then another minute. And then straightening the back again. We kind of lean into our old poses. So you have to just gently, like a puppy, nudge it back. And then last, so just softening the belly. Letting go that final defense. Rilke spoke of what's translated into English as repose, as a quality of receiving and letting go. And in a way, your whole body becomes a mudra here. We're enacting that condition of repose. And then just in your mind, taking a step back and sitting as if you're in a theater. And in the theater, you're watching your thoughts pass by on the screen. What's going to happen? How is this happening? Again. And in this condition of repose, you're just watching the thoughts go by. As I say, that's the point of the meditation. You got it. If it helps to just notice a place where there's a disturbance in your body or a tightness. For me, for the last week, it's been in my chest, and I keep putting my hand to my chest. Just letting those thoughts go by until everything stills. In the theater, there's a moment of pure silence, and you're with everything. In these last couple of minutes, just deepening the breath now. 4 counts in, pausing a little at the top, and 5 counts out. And if you can manage it, just planting a little mustard seed of a smile in your heart. That's pumping that smile into every cell of your body. Just breathing in. I plant a tiny seed of a smile in my heart. Breathing out, my heart delivers it to every cell in my body. Come Forth by Wendell Berry. I dreamed of my father when he was old. We went to see some horses in a field. They were sorrels, as red almost as blood, the light gold on their shoulders and haunches, though they came to us all a-tremble with curiosity and snorty with caution. They had never known bridle or harness. My father walked among them, admiring, for he was a knower of horses, and these were fine. He leaned on a cane and dragged his feet along the ground in hurried little steps, so that I called to him, "Take care, take care," as the horses stamped and frolicked around him. But while I warned, he seized the mane of the nearest one. "It'll be all right," he said. And then from his broken stance, he leapt astride and sat lithe and straight and strong in the sun's unshadowed excellence. We know that poem by Wendell Berry, which at a time like now just pierces us. When despair for the world grows in me, I come into the peace of wild things. Instead of that poem, I chose this one because this poem is an enactment, a whole body mudra enactment of that knowledge, of coming into the peace of wild things. And Wendell Berry, because he's a person of the soil and of the soul of the world, I wanted to also go to a place where seeds of healing and awareness are planted. And that's really here in this poem for me. The poem's called Come Forth. And first question I ask is, what is being called forth? What is being called to come forth? For those of you who know the New Testament, you recognize come forth as the word that Jesus says to Lazarus to cast off the grave clothes and come forth, to come back from the dead. So it's an allusion to Lazarus in the very title. We all had our own experiences this week. I don't pretend to know what everybody went through and on whatever level you experienced it. But I know that many people here experience a kind of death, of an expectation this week, and are now kind of being asked to return to life, to cast off the grave clothes and come forth again. And it's a difficult moment, and everyone's grief takes a different period of time. But it's also a moment of huge opportunity where you're standing between the world of the dead, like Lazarus, and the world of ordinary everyday life, like the people who stood in amazement and watched this figure walk out of the tomb in the story. It's a moment of betweenness. And this poem is so beautiful to me because it starts by acknowledging that this is all just a dream. I dreamed of my father when he was old. I had a magnificent moment with my mother in the last 2 days of her life. She was aware and awake and talking right up into the end. And I was lying beside her. And there's a moment when even the undeserving get a little slice of the Dharma, and I feel like that's what happened to me. And I said something like, that this is all a dream, that all of this is unreal. And she looked at me as though to gift me with the acknowledgement that she knew that was true, and she nodded. So this moment with the Father is so powerful to me, because it's saying I had this dream of my father when he was old, but it's also him saying, I'm going to read this moment with my father as if all the parts are me, metaphorically, the father and the horses and the one who's watching. All of it is me. And the dream, let's say it's our dream now, it depicts this broken world where the father is like the body. It's old, it's frail, it's taking these little careful steps. And the one who's watching is like the mind in the dream, just watching it all happen, standing back. But the one who's also worried about the body, worried about what might happen, worried about the danger afoot, afraid. And he says to the father, take care, take care. And then there are the horses, which are not malevolent, they're just wild and they're boundless. The father's broken, but the horses are unbroken. A wild horse is unbroken. So the horses are just energy, shakti, chi, power. And the father's getting real close to that, and he's worried the body is now coming into contact with this power that could crush it. He says, take care, take care. But there's something in this moment, this joining of the three, where collectively they all acknowledge that, like Whitman says, I'm not contained between my hat and my boots, that this dream of separateness, this dream of brokenness is not reality. Reality is there with those horses. There's just huge opportunity and power everywhere we look. And then the whole poem rides on this word seize, where he just seizes the horse, and with incredible ease, he leaps on it and becomes a master of that energy. And he says the most amazing thing, because when you're in that position, it's not take care you're thinking. It's what my mother knew, and it's what I know. When I get that little slice of the Dharma, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. So I want to ask you today, as we go into the second half here, what is calling you to come forth in a moment of huge opportunity? What is calling you to come forth? What is calling me to come forth? I dreamed of my father when he was old. He went to see some horses in a field. They were sorrels, as red almost as blood, the light gold on their shoulders and haunches. Though they came to us all a tremble with curiosity and snorty with caution, they had never known bridle or harness. My father walked among them, admiring, for he was a knower of horses, and these were fine. He leaned on a cane and dragged his feet along the ground in hurried little steps, so that I called to him to take care, as the horses stamped and frolicked around him. But while I warned, he seized the mane of the nearest one. It'll be all right, he said. And then from his broken stance, he leapt astride and sat lithe and straight and strong in the sun's unshadowed excellence. Just taking a comfortable seat again with your feet flat. Your whole body in repose. We're standing between take care and it'll be all right. We're standing between the world of the dead and the world of the living. And then just planting that seed about what's calling to you from out there. I'm going to read a couple passages from Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart, which was my first introduction to Buddhism 25 years ago. To be fully alive, fully human, and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. To live fully is to be always in no man's land. To experience each moment as completely new and fresh. To live is to be willing to die over and over again. From the awakened point of view, that's life. Things falling apart is a kind of testing and also a kind of healing. We think the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Then they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting go, letting there be room for all that's to happen, room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. It's Pema Chodron again. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. And as you said, just taking a step back, looking at the dream of the shattered separateness, the broken body, and the reality that abides underneath, which is those unbroken horses. And then just deepening the breath, staying with the breath. 4 counts in. And then a little pause at the top. And 5 counts out. And one word from Pema Chodron on that quality of betweenness. Life is a good teacher and a good friend. Things are always in transition, if we could only realize it. Nothing ever sums itself up in the way that we like to dream about. The off-center, in-between state is an ideal situation, a situation in which we don't get caught and we can open our hearts and minds beyond limit. It's a very tender, non-aggressive, open-ended state of affairs. Come forth. I dreamed of my father when he was old. We went to see some horses in a field. They were sorrels, as red almost as blood, the light gold on their shoulders and haunches. Though they came to us all a-tremble with curiosity and snorty with caution, they had never known bridle or harness. My father walked among them, admiring, for he was a knower of horses, and these were fine. He leaned on a cane and dragged his feet along the ground in hurried little steps, so that I called to him to take care, as the horses stamped and frolicked around him. But while I warned, he seized the mane of the nearest one. It'll be all right, he said. And from his broken stance, he leapt astride and sat lithe and straight and strong in the sun's unshadowed excellence. Thank you, everyone.